Because we young, we black, and we fed up. And you ain't seen this nowhere else in America, if not the world. You know what I'm saying? Like, St. Louis, we got a different type of aura, a different type of resilience than anywhere else in the country. But everybody else can relate to it because they go through the same exact thing. With my man, Mr. Crawford out there in Ohio, that was shot in the Walmart while he was holding a toy gun. They ran up on him and shot him down like a dog. You seen the video of the brother that they shot in the stomach at the gas pump? And he was like, what I do? Even you can hear him saying, man, what I do? So we here to take a stand against this bullshit, man. It don't look like the Baptist preacher with the bow tie. It don't look like, no disrespect, the Nation of Islam. It don't look like, you know, Patty Mae Bell and her friends marching. It look like young, angry black men and women. And we ain't ashamed to be angry because we supposed to be angry because they killing us. And that's the bottom line.
We got to fight back! My from me!
We got to fight back, Jack! We got to fight back, Jack!
Change the world.
And I remember what my mama told me.
Southern Northern Smooth.
And I remember what my mama told me.
It's Southern Smoke, you bastards!
And I believe in the unknown. Desire to breed peace in the gun zone. Superhero aura, palms of a mere mortal. Cursed from the womb, probably should have been aborted. I'm fighting inside of a thunderstorm. I'm standing on top of a flying rocket. Hoping I landed inside of the sun by waving a magic wand at the tongue of a dead prophet. POE on my 2 feet, standing in the hands of God.
My name is Tef Poe. Government name is Ferguson Jackson. Born and raised in St. Louis, the son of Frank Jackson and Pamela Berry. I was raised by Anthony Berry, my stepfather, since I was 1 year old because my real father ended up going to prison. So that's my story. I think it's always been in my blood. My father was a real anything that tied into the system too deeply type of person. My Uncle Stan is one of the founding members of the Black Panther Party in Missouri. My older brother, Rasheen Abdullah, is he's pretty well known in street culture in St. Louis. They call him Wicked. He founded like one of the most notorious gang sets out here. He's in prison for 25 years for the largest bank robbery in Missouri history. And I was just raised by rebels, everybody in my family, from top to bottom. I was bred to not believe in anything that the system offers you, to push back against the system at all times. When my brother was 16 years old, he had a shootout against the police, a standoff. So, you know, I was raised in this. I'm not new to the movement. When I heard about Mike Brown, I was actually at home. It was a Saturday. It was a regular Saturday for me, to be honest. I woke up, I was thinking about a party that I was promoting for later on that night. And I said I need to get online and start circulating the flyer so I can get some bodies in the door. And as I did that, I noticed a picture of Mike Brown's stepfather holding up a sign that said, "My unarmed son has been murdered by Ferguson police." I thought it was his real father at the time. I didn't know it was his stepfather. What moved me most about the sign is the background of the picture. It was on West Florissant, which is an area that I know like the back of my hand. And even though the police are very aggressive in North County and blacks and the police don't have a balanced relationship, you still don't go as far to think that something like this would actually happen on West Florissant or in that neighborhood. So it kind of threw me back, like, because you know there's not really that many shootings in that area to begin with, and let alone a shooting between a police officer and an unarmed 17-year-old child. So it kind of threw me off guard. And also, like I said, having the familiarity with that area, knowing it, growing up around there, in and out of North County, it just felt like it happened in my backyard.
I marinated on what to do at first. So I got on Facebook just to see how people were responding. And I noticed that the energy around this one was growing more and more. But I still didn't have a clear, concise idea where I would plug in. So I kind of waited a little bit. Then my brother called me, my younger brother called me. And he's kind of like the hood reporter. He knows everybody's business. He meets you one time, he knows where your mother lives. He knows how many kids you got. So he, like, if you need to know any 411, you call him. So when this happened, I knew he would call me at some point. And he called me. And he was kind of emotional. He said, man, they just shot this dude. And I said, what you talking about? He said, man, they just killed my homeboy's partner. And they left him dead in the street. And he was kind of emotional, but he was also trying to tell me the story at the same time. So he was like, yeah, man, they left him dead in the street. He actually said the name Mike Brown. He was the first person that I heard verbally say Mike Brown to me personally. He said, yeah, they killed Mike Brown, you know what I'm saying? And I didn't know none of the facts, what was actually going on, but I got off the phone with my brother and I told him, I said, man, don't worry about it. I don't know what we're gonna do, but we're gonna do something. So I hung up the phone, I stood up in my living room, and I actually started pacing back and forth in the living room because I knew that for me, I was gonna have to act, but I didn't know to what degree I was gonna have to act. And so I started pacing in the living room. I went outside, I sat on my front porch. I just kind of looked off into the ambiance, watched the cars drive up and down the street, and eventually I went back into the house. I got on the computer and I said, everybody just meet me in Ferguson. I said, just, I don't care what you're doing, stop what you're doing, just meet me in Ferguson. So then people actually started responding to that. So I went back and deleted the stat, like, whoa, I ain't really ready to lead a bunch of people into Ferguson with no plan. So I pulled the stat back. A few people still went, I went. When I got out there, I originally went to the Quick Trip because a lot of the commotion that I was hearing through the rumor mill was something about Quick Trip. So I went to Quick Trip. Nothing was really going on there. It was basic. I didn't even have to like really get out the car to feel that. Because as a teenager, I went to that Quick Trip countless times. So I got out the car, and just off the energy at the Quick Trip, I was like, no, nothing happened here. So there were a bunch of cars parked on the lot. Myself and a few of my friends walked down to Canfield Green. As we pulled into the neighborhood before we got to the Quick Trip, there were cops everywhere from all jurisdictions. And that's the first thing that threw me off, because I saw a Pine Line police car in Ferguson. And I was surprised by that. I was like, whoa, that's different. Like, you know, we got all jurisdictions in this jurisdiction. Then I looked across the street, cops were putting on bulletproof vests. There were SWAT vans and stuff like that. Now, to be honest, in North County, they do respond to blacks with SWAT on a regular basis. Like kick doors happen all the time. Like, I used to wake up, go to work, and then I'd look across the street of the parking lot as I'm catching the bus, and there's a parking lot full of SWAT team and ATF officers getting ready to go kick in somebody's door. So you see that all the time, and I thought it was just going to be like a SWAT finna clamp down on somebody and that'll be whatever. So when I walk down to Canfield, I see everybody out, a bunch of people outside. Over the course of time, some of these faces have become more familiar, and then some of them are just, you know, people who I just saw in passing. So I see rose petals in the middle of the street. I see people in the middle of the street. The rose petals are at the spot where Mike Brown was murdered. I got there like maybe a few moments after the body was taken from the scene. So I start asking questions. I see my cousin. He used to live in Canfield. He just moved out the week before Mike Brown was shot. He said, yeah, man, they killed this dude. You know what I'm saying? He just told me flat out they killed him. And he physically reenacted what happened. He stood in the street. He had his hands up. He ran. He dropped. He did exactly what people in the community saw. And he told me how many times he got shot, how many officers were on the scene, all that stuff. I crossed the street to go talk to some friends of mine that I see over there, and we talked, and on my way back across the street, I look down, and I see a puddle of Mike Brown's blood in the middle of the street. And that's when it really hit me that they had just killed somebody there, and that they didn't even like serve him the dignity to wash his blood out the street the right way. They left his blood in the street. Like, they left his body in the street, but they also left his blood in the street. That's an aspect of the story people don't tell. It's when they picked that body up, the blood was still there. The blood was literally still in the street, still in the cracks of the street, filling the streets. I could look down and visibly see puddles of his blood. So that, you can remove the body, but that blood is still sending a sign. It's still sending a message that we killed you and we don't give a damn. We're gonna leave this here as a reminder that we left him here. Like, that's something you do to livestock. You do that to a deer when you go hunting. You shoot the deer and you leave the blood there so the other deer know that an animal was shot. You know, this is the danger zone. Don't come over here because we're hunting. We'll kill you. You know, that's not what you do to a human. You know, and for me, you know, growing up in St. Louis, it's very important to tell this story accurately because people want to make it be, oh, they shot one kid in the street and these people all got mad. No, this is a continual assault on us by the police. This is the same thing that you see happening in places like South Africa. You see happening in smaller indigenous countries where the people are at war with the state and there's nothing that the people can do. And the same way that America clamps down on other countries for killing their own people. You know, they'll go to war with Omar Gaddafi for killing his own people. They'll bomb Saddam Hussein for leasing chemical, biological warfare on his own people. That's a world issue where we have to call in the strongest military in the world to combat this man for killing his own people. When literally, the same exact thing is happening. I mean, it's like you can hold up a split screen and it's the same exact activity. It's state-sponsored murder against poor people, against minorities in a particular section of the country. It's economically based, it's socially based, it even goes down to gender. It breaks down into, there's people who are of different gender categories that are just cowardly murdered for no reason. And the dialogue in America always turns into a hands-off type of thing. We give you a certain amount of freedom to make it appear that you're free. We dress it up in a nice, pretty bow. We put the best-looking prom dress we can on it. We pump up the breasts. We put the makeup on. We make sure that the hair is curly, and we send her into the prom so she can become prom queen. But when America comes home from the prom, takes all that bullshit off, you got the ugliest girl in the classroom.
Changed the world.
And I remember what my mama told me.
Southern Smoke.